The history of the human species is not a history of cooperation. It is not a history of brotherhood, nor is it a history of progress. If you strip away the comforting lies of the textbooks and look at the raw machinery of civilization, you will find only one thing. The history of the world is a history of manipulation. We are told that the strong conquer the weak. But this is a primitive understanding of power. Physical strength is a finite resource. It ages, it breaks, and it can be overwhelmed by numbers. True power, enduring power, the kind of power that builds empires and shapes reality, has never relied on the sword. It relies on the mind. It relies on the ability to weave a web so invisible and so sticky that the fly thanks the spider for the privilege of being caught. Welcome to the anatomy of the shadow. Welcome to the 48 laws of darkness. To understand how you are being controlled today, in this age of screens and dopamine loops, we must go back to the beginning. We must trace the genealogy of the lie. The first law of darkness was born the moment one human being realized they could trade safety for submission. Picture the ancient world. The night is dark, the forests are full of predators, and the thunder shakes the ground. The tribe is terrified. In the midst of this fear, one man stands up. He claims he can speak to the thunder. He claims he knows why the tiger attacks. He claims that if you give him the best cut of the meat, he will ask the sky to spare you. This is the law of the gatekeeper. It is the foundational principle of all religion, all politics, and all marketing. Create a problem that is invisible, terrifying, and overwhelming, and then position yourself as the only person with the solution. The shaman does not sell the meat. He sells the relief from anxiety. He sells the illusion of control. As civilization grew, the manipulation evolved from the spiritual to the strategic. In the war rooms of ancient China, Sun Tzu codified the law of deception. He taught that all warfare is based on a lie. If you are strong, appear weak. If you are near, appear far. But his deepest insight was psychological. He understood the law of the golden bridge. Never back a desperate enemy into a corner. If you leave them no escape, they will fight with the ferocity of the damned. Instead, build them a golden bridge to retreat across. Let them feel they have chosen safety, while you guide them exactly where you want them to go. This is a law the modern world has perfected, the illusion of choice. You are given a golden bridge every day, red or blue, left or right, Coke or Pepsi. You are allowed to choose your cage, so you never realize you're in a zoo. Moving west to the marble columns of Greece and Rome, we see the rise of rhetoric, the Sophists. These were the first true mercenaries of the mind. They taught that truth was irrelevant, only persuasion mattered. They understood the law of emotional contagion. A crowd does not think, a crowd feels. If you speak to a man, use logic. If you speak to a mob, use images, use outrage. Use the primitive levers of the reptile brain. The Romans took this and built an empire on the law of bread and circuses. They realized that a fed and entertained population does not revolt. Distraction is the ultimate form of control. If the people are arguing about the gladiator games, they are not arguing about the corruption in the Senate. Does this sound familiar? Look at your newsfeed. Look at the trivialities that consume our discourse. The gladiator games never ended, they just moved to the internet. But the dark arts of manipulation truly became a science in the Renaissance. This was the era of the courtier, the era of the poisoned chalice and the velvet glove. And in the center of this darkness sat Niccolo Machiavelli and the Borgia family. They gave us the law of the mask. They taught that a leader must be a centaur, half man, half beast. He must have the strength of the lion to frighten the wolves, but he must have the cunning of the fox to recognize the traps. The fox does not attack directly. The fox uses the law of plausible deniability. You must never be seen doing the dirty work yourself. You must have a scapegoat. You must have a fall guy. When the cruelty is necessary, let someone else execute it. Then execute that person to show the people your justice. This is the brilliance of the law of the clean hands. We see this today in the corporate world. The CEO demands the profit. The middle manager cuts the corners. And when the scandal breaks, the CEO fires the manager and claims ignorance. The structure of hierarchy is designed to insulate power from accountability. The Renaissance also perfected the law of isolation. To control a person, you must first disconnect them from their base of reality. You must become their only mirror. If you want to seduce a target, you do not flatter them blindly. You find their deepest insecurity, the wound they hide from the world, and you pour the balm of validation into it. You make them feel that only you understand them, only you see their genius. Once they believe that you are the source of their self-worth, they are yours. You can take everything from them, and they will still defend you. But the industrialization of manipulation arrived in the 20th century. This is where the 48 Laws of Darkness went from an art form to a weapon of mass destruction. We must look at two figures, Gustave Le Bon and Edward Bernays. Le Bon wrote The Crowd. He understood that when individuals merge into a group, their individual intelligence drops and their suggestibility skyrockets. The individual can be skeptical, the crowd is a believer. Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, took his uncle's theories on the subconscious and applied them to capitalism. He realized that human beings are not rational actors. We are driven by ancient, repressed desires. We want to be dominant. We want to be sexually viable. We want to be immortal. Bernays taught the corporations the law of association. Do not sell the product, sell the dream. He famously convinced women to smoke by calling cigarettes torches of freedom. He didn't sell tobacco. He sold rebellion. He sold equality. He bypassed the logic center of the brain and wired the product directly to the feminist impulse. This was the birth of the law of the void. Modern capitalism relies on creating a void within you. It must make you feel inadequate, incomplete, and anxious. If you are happy, you are a bad consumer. If you're content with your body, you will not buy the cream. If you are content with your life, you will not buy the car. The entire economy is built on the manufacturing of unhappiness. They break your leg so they can sell you the crutch. And now we arrive at the present, the digital age, the era of the panopticon. The laws of darkness have not disappeared. They have been encoded into the algorithm. The screen you are looking at right now is the most sophisticated manipulation device ever created. It operates on the law of intermittent reinforcement. This is the same mechanism used in slot machines. If you pull the lever and win every time, you get bored. If you pull the lever and never win, you give up. But if you pull the lever and win unpredictably, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot, sometimes nothing, your brain releases a flood of dopamine that creates a biological addiction. Social media is a slot machine. You pull the lever to refresh the feed. Will you get a like? Will you see a fight? Will you see something funny? You don't know. And that uncertainty keeps you tethered. You are the lab rat, pressing the button, waiting for the pellet, while the engineers of the mind collect the data. This brings us to the law of fragmentation. To control a population in the information age, you do not need to ban books. You do not need to burn libraries. You simply need to flood the zone with noise. You need to fragment reality into a billion shards so that no two people are looking at the same picture. By curating reality, by showing you only what you already agree with, the algorithm creates the law of polarization. It makes you believe that your neighbor is your enemy. It tribalizes the world. Why? Because a divided population cannot organize. If you are fighting the person across the street about a cultural issue, you are not looking up at the person in the tower who is robbing you both. Division is the ultimate security system for the elite. We must also speak of the law of gaslighting. This is the weapon of the abuser, writ large on a societal level. They tell you that what you are seeing with your own eyes is not happening. They change the definitions of words in real time. They rewrite history while the ink is still wet. The goal is to make you doubt your own perception of reality. When you no longer trust your own senses, you must trust the official narrative. You become a child waiting to be told what is real. And let us not forget the law of the Trojan Horse. This is how tyranny enters a free society. It never kicks down the front door wearing a swastika or a red star. It comes knocking gently, disguised as safety, disguised as convenience, disguised as the greater good. Give up your privacy, and we will catch the terrorists. Give up your cash, and we will stop the criminals. Give up your speech, and we will stop the hate. Every chain is forged with a promise of protection. The Trojan horse is always a gift, and by the time the soldiers burst out of its belly, you are already sleeping inside the walls. So, where does this leave us? We have walked through the museum of manipulation. We have seen the shaman, the general, the courtier, and the algorithm. We have seen the 48 laws of darkness in action, the law of the vacuum, the law of dependency, the law of the scapegoat, the law of the golden bridge, the law of the mask. It is a terrifying picture. It suggests that human agency is a myth, that we are merely leaves blowing in the wind of someone else's will. But there is a flaw in the system. There is a crack in the wall. All manipulation relies on one thing, your unconscious participation. It relies on you being asleep at the wheel of your own mind. It works because you react rather than respond. It works because you value comfort over truth. It works because you are afraid of the dark. The philosophy of fire is the antidote to the laws of darkness. To embrace the fire is to burn away the dead wood of your own conditioning. It is to wake up. The first step to freedom is the law of sovereignty. You must realize that your attention is the most valuable currency on earth. Trillions of dollars are spent trying to capture it. When you give your attention to the outrage of the day, you are paying a tax to your masters. When you withhold your attention, you are starving the beast. You must cultivate the law of silence. In a world that demands you have an opinion on everything immediately, the most rebellious act is to remain silent. To wait, to observe. The manipulator relies on your urgency. They need you to act now, to click now, to hate now. When you pause, when you detach, you break the spell. You must understand the law of the shadow. You cannot fight manipulation if you do not understand your own darkness. You are manipulated through your vices. You are controlled through your vanity, your greed, and your fear. If you deny these things in yourself, they become the handles by which others grab you. But if you know your own shadow, if you know exactly what you're capable of, you have no handles. You become smooth. You become impossible to grasp. History is a script written by the victors, yes, but you do not have to be an actor in their play. You can be the playwright of your own life. The 48 laws of darkness are not a manual for you to become a tyrant. They are a map of the minefield. They are the red pill that shows you the matrix. Once you see the strings, you can no longer be a puppet. When you see the politician creating a crisis, you will smile because you know the law of the gatekeeper. When you see the advertisement selling you a revolution, you will laugh because you know the law of association. When you feel the urge to destroy a stranger on the internet, you will stop because you know the law of polarization. Awareness is the fire. The world will continue to play its games. The shadows will continue to dance on the wall of the cave. The masses will continue to stare at them, fascinated and terrified. But you can turn around. you can walk out of the cave. The history of manipulation is long, and it is deep. It is built into the architecture of our language and our cities. But it is not absolute. The darkness is only effective as long as it remains unseen. You have the torch. You have the knowledge. The laws have been exposed. The question now is not what they will do. The question is, now that you know the game, will you continue to play, or will you flip the board? The fire is yours. Burn the illusions.